Hey, Kang. So let's see. I have both teams covered. And oh, I scared Kang away. I'm going to share my screen now to go to the post that we spoke about. You guys see my screen okay, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm just gonna have to reduce the screen because I can't see what we're doing here. Elementor and LinkedIn team. No, this wasn't what I wanted to cover. Was that it? No, it's Austin's post, actually, right? Sorry, I didn't prepare for this because I was answering those questions earlier. Because normally I would have this already on the screen. So does somebody have the link from Austin's post ready that you can just put into the chat right now? Otherwise, I'm going to have to find it. A heads up for you guys. I almost worked for Austin because he was looking for a coach. But if he hired me, I wouldn't be with you guys today. So you have him to thank. And I think I love this job much better than what Austin was offering anyway. So do you have the original post? It is under creator mode, show resources, and then my items, and then saved items. And one of these I sent you no, this isn't what we're covering, right? Because Austin was talking about somebody that they had helped. If anybody has it, we would love it if you submit it, if you plug it into the chat right now. If you notice, I save a lot of this stuff because I want to use it as information to discuss with you guys. No, that's not it. Did I share that in the LinkedIn group? My apologies, guys. I normally have this ready, but I jumped on that Zoom earlier. I shouldn't have done that. So now I have everybody waiting for me. I remember because Pooja replied, she said she wanted to be part of it, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? That's why you guys are on this call right now, because I put the invite in the LinkedIn group. No. Ah, this is it, right? Here we go. Come on, guys. All right. Let me get rid of this window because you're probably seeing this covered up, right? You guys see it okay now?
Yeah.
So in this case, they said the client landed an offer for a $30,000 raise. Okay, so this was obviously somebody who was in the field right now. And what I wanted you to notice out here was how long the process took, because like I also said in the message to our LinkedIn Career Services group, was the whole process took less than 2 months, and this is how they did it. So as I go through the rest of what you're seeing on the screen, I want to hear from you guys as to what you're seeing is in this post that connects to what you have been taught about business relations. I repeat the instructions. As I'm going through this post from Austin and taking a look at the process that this client went through, I want you guys to connect the dots with how it's connecting to the business relations initiative that we're teaching you guys, both as L mentors and business relations strategists. Questions about the directions? So here's how the client did it, okay? She made a list of target companies and found 150 contacts who would refer them in. From your experience with the outreach that you're doing, what are the finer points? And this is why I said in the email, we're going into a deeper dive. Questions, comments, experiences from your outreach that relate to item number 1. Mic is open, just please jump in. You guys don't have any lists as to the companies that you want to reach out to? Mohammed?
Yeah, work is in progress, Bernie. It's going on.
Okay, so Pooja, you had a list with
Yes.
your contacts?
Yeah, I did the number 1 and number 2 already.
Okay. Were there any questions or is there anything that you wanted to share as far as your best practices, Pooja, from your list making?
Okay, to begin with the list making, I chose the company, the industry in which I have already experience into, and plus my aspiring like industry in which I'm gonna go with. And then I obviously followed the company on LinkedIn. That is the very first thing, because they do post updates regarding jobs and internships.
Okay.
And then when I put the name on the search bar, like for example, I wrote JP Morgan Chase. So whatever contacts are there, connections are there in my LinkedIn, all showed up. Like the
Okay.
post, the people, the connections, the mutual connections, and alumni of IIT and all those things. So I send them all the request. They accepted my request, and I ensure that I'm sending the personal note as a message to them. Hey, it will be a pleasure to connect with you, and I'm looking for some roles. And I do not start the conversation directly demanding the referrals from them. That is actually negative, because they will feel like that person is coming to us only for referrals. So I avoid that.
Okay.
So I just send
Before
them
you
a
go there,
personal greeting note.
Pooja, you're getting into the messaging part right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of like stop this a little because I want to focus on the list part so that we kind of follow the sequence of Austin's email. So thank you for sharing that part
Yeah.
from the list. Any best practices from the list that you mentioned so far? Like for out of curiosity, who were you connecting it with? Were they the people who are in the jobs that you may want to have? Or were they the hiring managers or HR? Just curious what you did.
Okay. Couple of them are recruiters, directly HR recruiters.
Okay.
And then the people from the different domains. For instance, finance domain, technology domain, and a marketing domain, mix of everybody. Is like those who
Okay.
have premium profile, they showed up the most on the first, second, third list, and then vice
Okay.
versa. Yeah.
Okay. Very good thing. So Pooja is going from the standpoint of she's reaching out to all sorts of people within the same company because you may not be noticing it right now. One of the things that newer people to this approach do is they just reach out directly to the hiring managers. And one of the questions that we got from the BRS team earlier, and that's what I was addressing, was they were asking, when did they reach out to these hiring managers for the job that they applied for? It's not the best, it's not the most ideal time to reach out to those guys necessarily if they have a job requisition out, because obviously they're busy. So the best time is to kind of like do what Pooja was doing, but she's reaching out to all these people who aren't necessarily hiring people right now, because she's creating a groundwork for what we're discussing, which is a success case. And Nandish actually shared this in an email that I also shared in the LinkedIn group, because he said, okay, when I first heard about this business relations approach, he was like, I wasn't paying attention to it because it looked like it was going to be longer. And he's finding out otherwise, that it may look like it's longer in the beginning, but it's really much, much more efficient. Comments about what I just said, or on the list that we had in the first part? Otherwise, we'll go to the next item. So the second thing out here, so the difference between this particular approach is this person chose to email, and then the approach that you guys are being taught is reaching out via LinkedIn. The approaches are actually similar. The difference between them, there's kind of nuances between reaching out on LinkedIn and reaching out on by email. So I was curious whether you guys can identify those nuances. What are your experiences reaching out via email? Because I know Mohammed was reaching out by email, and for majority of you that are kind of like learning this information, that are doing this on LinkedIn.
I think it's a lot easier via LinkedIn rather than emails, because I know like most of the recruiters, like we follow this thing called cold emailing, where we just like send out emails and they don't even respond, necessarily open it and see, because we're just one among the thousands of people that are sending them emails. So
Okay.
at least on LinkedIn, we have this opportunity. Even if they don't reply, you can just send multiple messages over a period of time so that they get these notifications, and at some point they respond to you. From there, you can, pick up a good conversation. But email, like at least personally, I have not found very good results with emailing people.
Okay. Very good observations, Yasha, and comments. I could comment on some of those, but I'd like the team to say something else
Okay.
about others. Yeah, I mean, this is a general discussion, really. It's really what I'm doing out here with this call is I'm meeting you guys where you're at. I want to see what your reality is in the process so that we can answer questions, is really what's going on. So thank you, Yasha. Any other comments or questions to the second item that we spoke of for somebody who's using like LinkedIn or email?
Only LinkedIn.
Say that, Yash.
So most of the 90% of the times I'm using LinkedIn, but if I want to escalate the conversation, then I might go to email.
Email. Okay. So the thing about email is you have the subject. That's yet another thing that you could focus on to get you in the door, so to speak. So what is one of the most effective things that should be in the subject so that you can catch their attention? What's the most obvious? Anyone? Nothing, huh? I'm going to tell you, it's the person's name. So part of the practice that I do is I capitalize it. Say if I was going to send Yash an email and it was a cold outreach, I would type capital Y-A-S-H. It's all capital and then something. Okay, if they post something on LinkedIn or it was something about their company, this is where you need to get creative, because the difference between email and LinkedIn is you have to get through the subject, obviously, before they even open the message. That is one of the differences between email and LinkedIn. Mohammed has nothing to say about email, because I think Mohammed does this approach as well, or had done it. Was there anything to share from your end?
No, as they mentioned earlier, like it depends on person to person. Like someone is feeling LinkedIn is better for them, like while they're contacting. But like what I do is like if I'm connecting with any person or like in mailing through LinkedIn, I make sure that I go to their profile and like check some similar post, and I'll just like put up in comment that like please check my DM. Like that has
Okay.
worked for me. Like of course, like they have opened my email and replied to that. Like, okay, yes, we do have an opportunity for this. Like if it's like a good fit or not, like they're looking for like some experienced people or all those kind of things. Yeah.
Cool. And you just brought something to mind, Mohammed. InMail is kind of like an email because it also has the subject area,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So you can do the subject. I totally forgot that that's how you were reaching out to these guys. So there's some similarity between that and the email. Okay. Thank you. Other questions or comments about that, LinkedIn versus email? I honestly prefer to communicate via LinkedIn to most of the stuff that Yasha had said earlier. Email is kind of like hard because you don't have all these tactics that I'm showing you to stay top of mind that some of you guys caught when you got on this call, as to like endorsing, as to like clicking the likes when somebody tagged them, that sort of stuff. So email is a little bit more restrictive from that standpoint. So even from the point of doing follow-up, Neil, that's why I was very leery, because the communication that you had between those three people that you wanted to hear back from was totally all in email, and that's why I kept on asking you, do these guys also post on LinkedIn? Because
Yeah.
LinkedIn would be yet another way. Am
That
I
was
connecting those
actually
dots for you?
Yeah, you are, yeah.
Okay,
And in fact, Bernie, you wouldn't believe, Wasa just messaged me back on mail, and
with what?
I forwarded the mail, his mail, copy pasted you in your personal message.
So he just happened to message you?
Well, we both know it didn't just happen, right?
Oh,
We
you sent him
endorsed.
something.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
you
We endorsed
endorsed
him.
him. All right,
Yeah.
beautiful. So Neil, please share what we just did with the rest of the team. Neil was stuck, okay? Neil went to an interview. He has been in communication with them over the holidays. And Neil, I want you to continue the story, share with the team what I kind of told you to do today. And obviously you had a success today. So Neil, please take the floor.
Yeah, so for the guys who have not yet got the time to catch up with this conversation which we had in the group, so I had a couple of interviews before, and I had my final interview around about 16th or I don't know the exact date, but in December. And after the interview, it was only with the three people who I was supposed to be working in a team with as an intern, and not with the HR. And so after that interview, I obviously contacted the HR, and I've given the screenshot there if you guys want to refer. And I was just, showing my appreciation for him and my interest in the company. And I asked, when could I hear back from them? Um, to that, he didn't really reply. And so fast forward in January, in between, I had sent him a mail because obviously I was very eager. I was in the final round. I wanted to know the results. But it wouldn't really make sense because it was all holidays till then. But soon after the break was over, he replied saying like he was out of office for almost all the days, and he didn't really get the time to catch up. And I said, okay, thank you for your prompt response. And I again mailed him, and like he had said that he'll be contacting the team and will be letting me know very shortly. Now, as you know, we always jump the gun because we hear he will be contacting soon. I thought I was very excited. I thought he'll contact me in a couple of days, but that didn't really happen. So I mailed him back on Jan 5th, I guess, and asked him
Yeah, so 2
for
days afterwards, right?
2 days.
So when you
Yeah.
finally got him, he sent you a message, and then 2 days later,
Yeah, so 2 days later, I mailed him back asking for if there is any update. Um, but meanwhile, I was, connecting with the people who took my final interview also on LinkedIn because, I was under the impression that he is not so prompt on replying mails, considering my prior experiences. So again, he did not reply, but so I contacted so my connection with the ones who took my interview, I contacted them on LinkedIn asking about, if there are any updates from there. And obviously, you make a beautiful question and you kind of get into the loop and all those things. So that being said, one of them, or in fact, two of them replied saying that all these things are, long process and it's just December and, it's for summer internship. So you kind of have to be a little patient, give them time. And obviously someone from the HR will contact you again. And so that is the whole context to the story. And fast forward now today, just like 15 minutes ago, Bernie said that, you have to be in their face. You have to, show your perseverance in some
Well,
way.
actually, it's not in their face. You want to stay top of mind because in their
Yeah,
face.
sorry, not in the face. It's a little
Yeah,
aggressive.
Yeah, you want to be a little bit more subtle. They still
So-
know that you're following up,
Uh,
but it's actually the opposite of in your face, right,
Yeah,
Neil? And
yeah,
what was
yeah,
the
yeah.
suggestion?
So one of the suggestions that he said was like, you could endorse them. And when you do that, you come into the notification bar. And I was very skeptical, to be very honest, from the start, because as I showed you guys, he had like 10,000 followers and I was, wondering, will I actually get into his notification list? But now I know that the master has tried many times than I have failed. So I did endorse him, and
He
guess what?
clicked one, by the way. Let's give them the details because obviously there's at least 3 skills on the
Three
page.
skills.
And I
Yeah.
told Neil, don't hit all of them. Just pick
Yeah,
one.
just one.
He just picked one today because if they don't respond in a few more weeks, then
We
he
have
has
still
more
other chance to,
bullets,
yeah.
so to speak, among other things that we're doing. So Neil hit one endorse today. And
And then I think like as soon as I hit, he mailed me back because I was just checking my mail and I saw a mail from him like 10 minutes ago on the same thread which I had asked him a question on Jan 5th. And I'll quote him. He said, "Hi Neil, we haven't forgotten about you. Just need to still complete some final interviews that got prolonged due to vacations, etc. Be in touch soon. Cheers." That's what he mailed. So at least I'm still in the loop and I get my conclusion and I know there is some clarity now that he has built.
fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. Nice job, Neil. What did you learn from this experience? And after Neil shares what he just learned, I want everybody else to jump in about the tactic that we just taught you. So Neil, what did you learn?
Uh, I guess the learning part was, like uh, be a little consistent, and the fact that he does not reply doesn't really mean that we have, got derailed from the conversation altogether. But there are always some ways you can jump right back in and get your answer what you're looking for. You just have to know what is the right way to do it, and endorsing and getting into his notification list is just one of them, because as Bernie said earlier, you can also always like their post, comment their post, and something or the other which gets you in their mind, right? So
Yeah,
I guess
top
that's my
of
takeaway.
mind. Yeah,
Top
it's a
of mind.
sales tactic. We want to be top of mind with these guys because they know. And then, well, let's hear some other reactions to the endorse thing. Thank you, Neil.
Thank
Other
you.
folks, reactions to what we just shared, because I'm going to ask Neil. I had another suggestion for Neil had we not done the endorse. Anybody else learn anything from Neil's share?
That it's important to have opportunities where you can pop up on your notifications.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. When Neil clicked endorse, it sent this person a notification saying that Neil endorsed them. So to our point of being top of mind, it achieved what we were trying to do. And actually, that's why I said, don't endorse him in all sorts. When I was applying this, the first time that I was doing this for marketing operations, I'd see a person who's like, oh, let me be nice to them and let me endorse them for all these skills so that they may possibly think, oh, such a nice thing that they're doing for me. Okay. And then I realized I kind of like wasted my bullets, so to speak, in one pass. So I was very quick to tell Neil, just hit one for now, because that's an additional ammunition for you for further follow-ups. Very good. Thank you, Yasha. Other comments or reactions?
I like
No
the,
reaction?
I like the subtle approach. I like the subtle approach that, makes them, as you said, keep them at the top of their mind rather than being a bit aggressive, being a bit, impatient, or making it seem too, upfront. So I think it was a really good approach.
So that
You're
was a
still
new
achieving
learning
the
for you?
same goal. You're still
Was that
you're
good?
still achieving the same goal, but in a more, subtle way, which I think was good.
Yeah, it's not in your face, like
Yeah.
Neil mistakenly said earlier, right? It's very subtle, and he got the desired effect, and he just did that a few minutes ago before we got on the call. So, and again, all these tactic strategies, they may work, they may not work, but that's why, I keep on giving these to you, because you could, mix and match, so to speak. So thanks for sharing, Girish. Others,
Hello.
comments?
I would like to ask
Hey,
one
Yash.
question. How do I maintain balance between keeping myself in their mind and not being too desperate for the job?
Very good question. So the time that, remember, all the time, whenever we speak about resume, about LinkedIn, about interview, you always make it about them. So to answer your question, Yash, I would say if you were them and all these students or job seekers were trying to reach out for you, to strike the balance, kind of check in with yourself. If I were in their shoes and I did what I'm about to do, would I like it? Would I not like it? Would they put that job seeker in a good light, in a bad light? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So always think from their perspective, because if you were the person, if the roles were reversed and you were the one receiving all these messages, all these follow-ups, by all means, you want to help them. And if you notice, the message from Neil's person said, hey, sorry, I didn't get back to you. They're truly wanting to help Neil still. But if we tried to go the in your face approach, you're kind of like losing grace. You're losing their favor. And that's why you always have to think of it. For this next move that I'm going to do, endorse, oh, they're going to like it because I'm endorsing their skill. I'm going to send an email asking them the same question that I already sent for the last 2 emails. You're getting to be an annoyance at that point.
Right.
Make sense?
Makes sense. Thank you.
Good question. Good question, Yash. Others? Neil, I'm going to request for you to show up that email that we had earlier that I suggested that you were going to do if you didn't do the endorse. I sent you a short snippet. So you
Yeah,
can
I'll
show-
copy paste here in the chat box. And I had one.
Actually- Oh, you had something else?
I had one thing to ask. It's very funny. What should I reply him next with this mail?
Remember Mohammed suggested earlier about the
Yeah.
question to ask at the end?
Yeah, but now like it's
No,
you know,
hang on. I want to bring everybody on the same page. So Mohammed earlier said that during an interview, one of the best questions to ask would be what, Neil? To ask them what?
to ask them like, when can I hear back from you or something of that
What are the
synonym.
next
Yeah.
steps? What is
What are
your
the next steps?
process? And where
Yeah.
you hear back from you. So if we were thinking about that same approach with this email that you just got, what from Mohammed's suggestion could you apply to this response? Because you could grab the bulls by the horn right now, because you got them talking, right?
Yeah.
So what could you say?
So before I say that, I mean, I would also like to add, like, I have been back and forth with him for long now. So
Exactly. So you don't want to be an annoyance, correct?
yeah,
So
exactly.
why don't we bring that forth to the table in your response by saying, thank you so much for this. I certainly don't want to pester you all the time, right? Would be a good start. To
Yeah.
your point that you've been talking to them forever.
Yeah.
So number one, I thank them. Number two, I'm bringing to the surface your concern that you're starting to be a pest to them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What could you say as the next line to that?
I don't know, sorry. So
No, it connects back to what Mohammed said. So thank you very
Right.
much for your reply. I realized that I've been going back and forth with you all this time to be a pest. I don't want to
Yeah.
be a pest or an annoyance to you. I'm curious.
I'm curious, when can I,
Or
get a
say, what would you
conclusion or-
suggest? What would you suggest
Yeah. Put the
for
question
me
back
to
on
do?
them. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
what would you suggest for me to do to follow up so that I'm not bugging you or something to that effect?
Yeah.
Does
I
that
get
make
the sense of
sense?
it. Yeah.
So it's kind of like what Mohammed said earlier, like when you're finishing the interview, you ask them what the process is. So we're going to use it.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, it does. So
Comments?
No, I guess that's nice.
Let's go to the chat. Did you put it in the chat yet, or are you gonna share your screen? You can share your
No,
screen if you want.
And if you don't mind, I'll
Here's a
just put it in.
suggestion that I gave Neil as to what to email this person. The endorse happened to work for today, but another suggestion I gave Neil to be top of mind is this very quick email. You got it? If you can't find it, I could,
No,
open up
I
our
just got
chat.
it.
all right, cool.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
So,
You're talking about this, right?
no,
No?
sorry. Well, this is good since you put it here anyway. This relates to what we just spoke of, right? So you're
Yeah.
saying,
Oh, okay. I see.
so this is good in that this is the question that Mohammed was suggesting Neil ask at the end of every interview. And I just kind of gave it my own spin.
This
from
is
what
the
you're
other
saying.
one. I just put dots to separate the two.
Yes. So the email that I was suggesting for Neil to do before we had spoken about the endorse was to send something as simple as this. In the subject line, it's the person's name to catch their attention, and then just happy Thursday, right? It's a greeting, or you can come up with something more creative. And then you say, dear name, and then hope your week is going great. Respectfully, Neil. Why might this be effective versus Neil saying, oh, I'm following up from our talk last week. Have you heard that? Why would you think this is more effective?
Because in this email, Neil's just acknowledging the fact that I've gotten your response and I understand that you will take more time to get back to me. And this is a lot more effective than just asking him how often should I follow up, because as Neil mentioned, he's already been following up. And it might come off as being too desperate to get this job, and that's not something we want to put up front. So this
Yes.
is more effective.
Yes. So this is another option for you guys aside from the endorse. It's kind of like sending an email, but treating them like a human being, asking them how they were, or even instead of saying hope your week is going great, Neil could have said, how's your week going? Very short, not talking about the job at all, but in the back of the mind, the person you're sending this to knows exactly why you're mailing, right? Make no mistake, they know why you're mailing, but you're kind of being, hey, human being to human being, how's your week going? Make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Thank you. Time check, I realize it's 1:30. People have to drop. I think I just set this up till 1:35, right? And I really haven't gotten to the meat of the subject yet. Is this guys helping? I mean, sorry, is this call helping you guys? That's what I meant to say.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anything that you were expecting to hear from this call? And since we're towards the end of this call, that I can address so that you can ask me that question right now before I proceed to my agenda? Especially for people who have to go, because otherwise I'm going back to this list and kind of go through it because my intent was to connect the dots for you guys on this post. I may have to go a little faster unless anybody has any questions for me right now.
I have one last question. So as I can read in the post, in the first point, I can see found 150 contacts.
That's just an arbitrary number. It's suggested.
Let's
Okay.
suppose I don't have that any X number of
I'm
contacts.
sorry.
Let's suppose I don't have any contacts in any of my dream companies. Then how should I move forward?
Any suggestions from the group? So Yash, you don't have any companies that you're thinking that you want to work for? Not even one?
I have companies, but I don't have any contacts there.
Okay. So I guess Yash needs some information on researching. Does anybody, number one, it's a very good question to ask Yash, considering the stage that you're in and joining this group. Some of these people on the call right now are more ahead of you from that standpoint. So anybody want to jump in and give Yash some idea of what you did to answer his question that he just asked?
I would like to give a suggestion.
Oh,
Awesome.
Yeah, I would just research about the company and see the followers, so that we would get an idea who's following the company, and he could search the designation he wants to work in it.
Make sense, Yash? It's a very good suggestion.
Can you please?
I
brief
have
about-
I have a suggestion.
I guess Yash had a question for Avinash, so.
Yeah.
And then who was the next person who had another suggestion? So Avinash, please answer Yash's question, and then somebody else was trying to talk.
Sure. Yash, your question. Can you repeat?
And can you brief a little more about what you just said?
Come again. Your voice is not clear.
Can you brief a little more regarding what you just said?
Okay, sure.
You said to follow the company.
Yeah, actually, I would like to share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead. It's clear to share.
Yeah. Is it visible right now?
Yes, beautiful.
Actually,
Thank you.
I want to work in a Deloitte, some kind of stream. It's just an example. So I've got an example here. 153 people from your school works here. So that I would suggest that I'll click them and see the designation they are working. So then I'll research about it. If I'm choosing Divya Singh, so I'll see what's a qualification, what's position she's working in it. So then I'll search about what's interest in it. So, and then I would try to approach her. So this
Very
is the way I would like to do.
Okay, all right.
You got that, Yash?
Yes, understood. Thank you so
So
much. Avinash.
this is from the list standpoint. So very good suggestion, Avinash. One of the things that you guys, if you haven't done it yet, you really want to connect with everybody who is like on these business relations strategist team or Elementor team, because these are people working on the same material. They're kind of like classmates of yours, if you will, for this class that you could have study groups with or ask them what their best practices. And that's why I keep on going back to you guys. What's best practices that you learn? So thank you, Avinash. Who else wanted to share to Yash's question?
Yeah, I have some.
All right,
insight.
Abhishek.
Yeah, so I have two suggestions. So first of them is I usually look for some groups that are already on the LinkedIn. Suppose if I want to look for data science kind of roles. So what I do, I join those groups and keep a close eye on what kind of post they are posting, who is more active in there. Then I try to be in touch with them. So thereafter, I made a list of the companies that they are working for, and that's how I got to know about them through the post. And the second thing is there is a LinkedIn query that I use. Suppose if I want to work for John Deere, so I would search John Deere space data engineer or data scientist or data analyst. So it will give me a list of all the people who are working for this particular post in this particular organization. So this works for me.
Did you get that, Yash?
Oh yeah, that was a really good insight from Abhishek.
Awesome. Thank you, Abhishek. The other
Thank
thing
you.
that Abhishek didn't cover with the groups is once you're part of the group, you could kind of like see who the members of the group are. What Abhishek shared was kind of go by what they're posting, which was kind of good because you're kind of like looking for like minds, so to speak, but you also have access to the group list and you could kind of like funnel through those as well and look for the people that you want.
Yes. Perfect.
Good, good. You
Thank you so
notice how everybody's kind of like with their best practices are sharing in this group. So I'm loving the discussion. Thank you, everyone. And repeat suggestion to you guys. If you haven't connected with everyone yet, you really want to. All right.
One last thing,
Okay.
Bertie, that I'm not in that LinkedIn group. Can you please add me again?
I think you're in the business.
I can't see it on my LinkedIn. It might be
Okay.
a
I'll make sure to check. I'll check for you,
Yes.
Yash. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me know. So let's just go through this really quickly. I'm not going to do what I did for step 1 and step 2, okay? Because let's just try to make this go quicker and hopefully end at our hour mark, which should be 1:50. You make a list. They're going to email. In our case, we said that LinkedIn is our preferred method. You make the outreach. Oh, look at this part. You make the outreach about them. And I think this is what Pooja started getting into when she started talking about the messaging. And they follow up with whoever didn't reply. So this method was by email. When somebody doesn't reply via LinkedIn, if you put in a connection request, actually, this is a pop quiz question for you guys. If you put in a connection request and say a week has gone by and they haven't accepted it, what could be a top of mind action for you guys? You put in a connection request, you said something nice, and they haven't responded. What is an easy thing for you to do if you want to follow up a few days later or even a week later? Starts with the letter F. Anyone?
We'll try to interact with them in comments.
In comments is good.
we
That
do
wasn't
that.
what I was going to suggest, but that was good, Avinash. So Avinash is saying that if you made a connection request and they haven't responded, you try to interact with them in their comment, in their posts. Very good, Avinash. That wasn't the answer I was looking for, but that was good.
I guess F stands for feed.
No. But that's a good guess. Others, starts with F. Come on, guys. I'll open one thing up here and say, if I had a group and then A connected with,
Follow.
exactly. Exactly. It's follow. So after you sent the connect request, you have the ability to follow somebody. And just like Neil with the endorse earlier, when you click follow, they get a notification that Avinash followed them. So comment or do the follow.
That's a great answer.
You guys get it, Tab? All right, cool. So this third part out here is, okay. Remember when we talk about the message design principles, okay? I'm not gonna quiz you right now, but the message design principles, the message has to be short. Number two, the message has to be very thoughtful in that it's designed to elicit a response. And then the number three part is not to make an immediate request, okay? Notice how Austin is kind of like suggesting that during the conversation, you want to ask for an interview immediately. Okay, remember also that what we were talking about job search advice, always take it with a grain of salt. He likes to suggest that they like make a direct request to say, hey, can I get 15 minutes of your time for a virtual coffee? So you could do it if you want to. Obviously it works, otherwise he wouldn't be promoting it. My indication is I'm not gonna make that request immediately for a virtual coffee, okay? But for this approach, with their emails, they're requesting to book a meeting. That's what this virtual coffee stands for. Abhishek, I remember you asking me about this, right? So the virtual coffee is for an informational interview, and an informational conversation, or a career conversation. Okay, that's what number 3 is talking about. And then they're talking about asking their questions. I think I'm going to end it with these next 3 paragraphs. It's saying, okay, so I just told you what I thought about making a direct ask for a virtual coffee. Let's just assume that you got the virtual coffee. Austin is suggesting that during the conversation, you want to focus the contact by asking question about the team's biggest challenges. This is one of the nuggets that I want you guys to get out of it today. Our approach is kind of different, but if and when you could get to that 15 minutes, by the way, you can get some of these answers also with the way that you're sending LinkedIn messages. Because remember our design principles, you design it such that it's laying the foundation for a back and forth. If you design it the way I've recommended for you guys to do it, then this could be the next process without even having a virtual coffee. Okay, so the whole idea out here is in your back and forth, you're showing interest in them. And then during the conversation, translating it to what we do, doing our back and forth, you want to focus by asking questions about their organization's biggest challenges, current initiatives, and 6-month goals. Why do you think we're doing this?
for you guys who kind of like read further. What's the whole purpose of finding out what their company issues are, so to speak? Because we're talking about challenges, initiatives, and goals. Anybody have an idea? And this is the last thought I'm going to leave you guys with for today.
It will give us a better insight on how we can present ourselves. Like if our goals align with the company's goals, there's a higher chance that we get hired, or at least they put us in a better spot compared to other candidates.
Very good, Yasha. It puts you in a good light because you're showing interest in their company, and then that you're finding out specific initiatives within their company. So very good. So you can see whether you're aligned. Any other thoughts? I think Yasha covered it all. So this is the thought that I wanted to leave you guys with. And I think I shared this with the L Mentors group, but not the business relations strategists. Austin actually has a talk at the end of the month, which is like January 27th, where the bulk of what he teaches is, this is especially useful to people transitioning careers where they want to move from one area to another area. Okay, so it's people switching, people in mid careers who want to switch from one area to another area. This applies to you guys also who are students who are going into an area for the first time. And the parallel that's most common for students who are in school is usually when people switch from one area in their career to another, they don't have the experience in the area that they're going to. So let me parallel that with students. Sometimes we have students who don't have experience in the companies that they want. So the whole idea of finding out what the goals are, what the initiatives are from the other person is in the back of your mind. You're actually gathering ammunition because you're going to put together some sort of report that is going to show that you did your research about their company. But this time it's not just any report, because this report is now fueled by the information that you got from them. So it's going to be very directed. To Yasha's point earlier that you're going to be in a good light, I'm taking it further that you're going to be a very, very good light. Because if you're trying to get a job there, it's kind of like you're an employee there right now who knows what their goals are, who knows what their initiatives are, and you're giving an idea of what you think are the solutions that are going to be put in this report. So when you go back to read the share that we had earlier, the rest of the post is going to make sense for you guys. So I guess I'm going to make that homework for you guys. Austin calls it a value validation project. It's validating your value as an employee. By you asking questions about their goals are, what their initiatives are, you're proving your value to them, that you could be a good employee for their company. And it's just not you. You're kind of like taking a deep dive into details of their company. And you now have the ability with that information to show how much more valuable you are. That's why Austin calls it a value validation project. And this was my recommendation to the L Mentor team. Austin obviously is having a call at the end of the month, and I'm going to resend it again to both teams. I would, at first I was going to say attend it, and then we could discuss it later. But if you guys want to, I think it's like later in the day. It's like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock Chicago time. We could all attend it as a team, or we could all attend it individually, and then we could like debrief and talk about this. But to end today's call, the last 4 minutes, I want to hear suggestions or comments about what I just said about value validation, and what value do you see out of that golden nugget that I wanted to share with you guys today. Either I was very clear or I was not clear at all. No reactions?
No, it was very clear.
So does that make sense as to what was in that post
Yes.
and what
Yeah.
they're recommending that we're doing? And can you guys superimpose what you're being taught with business relations? I kind of like took it a step further in that just asking, well, it's still job search, right? But I just gave you additional fuel to put in your job search arsenal that could possibly make you much, much more effective or the candidate for that job because, hey, you're not even working there yet. And here you are with a proposal as to how to fix that project. It's an opportunity for you to shine, obviously, and prove your value to them. Make sense?
Yeah.
So what I want you guys to do right now is go back to that email. I'm going to send I promised you guys, two things, right? I'm gonna resend that post that we just looked at today. And then I'm going to send Austin's invitation. He's obviously marketing this course so that people buy his course or go into whatever tools he's trying to sell. Me sharing this with you is not to tell you to go buy his tools, okay? The intent for this is there's some golden nuggets to be learned from it. Let's attend the course. He's going to try to sell you. I'm saying don't. If you want to, do it. But that's not the intent of today's call. The intent of this call is to latch onto the information, and then you have somebody like me mentoring you through the process. So I think I told Neil earlier, the rest of the team, I actually almost worked for Austin because he was looking for a coach. Okay.
Yeah.
This was back in January. He didn't hire me. If he hired me, I wouldn't be talking to you guys today. All right. So the value that we're having out of today's conversation is you get material from like what Austin shares, and then you have somebody like me who kind of like guides you through that process because I've been through it. As a matter of fact, I sent him a value validation project, to get to his job, but there were some nuances to it that didn't quite hit the mark, but that's a discussion for another day. So any last questions in the last minute of this call? Otherwise, we're going to end it. And if you have any additional questions about comments, that's why we created the LinkedIn chats for both groups. So final questions? No questions? Thank you everyone for joining today. I hope you learned something new. And if you think of any other questions after this, we will see you in the LinkedIn chat. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you, Bernie. Bye.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Bernie.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Guys.